Hey, welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings here in Mendham and such. So, this is sort of a special edition. Okay, I will do something a little different. I won't be playing my video. I'll be playing another video. A documentary that just was released for Christmas. I Wish You Were Never Born. Jack Boswell is the documentarian. And so I have to do a little bit of context that he did contact me, I don't know, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, a year ago, pretty long ago anyway. Has to be over a year. Yeah, anyway, and, he did offer, to, interview me like he did these other people and the whole thing. And I frankly just had no confidence about what his agenda was, so I just couldn't feel comfortable about involving myself with it. I can't say specifically. I think I knew some of the other people who were going to be in it, and I just knew that, I wasn't a human extinctionist, and I wasn't these different things. And so the subject really wasn't focused on what I think is the real subject. I think that was part of my discomfort, but it was also it was just going to be another freak show video, like, look what these freaky people do. Okay, like we are people, like people who sleep with their, have sex with their sister or something, or incest people, or people who go out and stab dolphins, porpoises, people who eat cats, some kind of, like, it's just a freak show. And that was my impression, that he just wanted to do a controversial subject to incite interest and, in some kind of pretty negative way. Like, oh, this is something to be laughed at or mocked, or these are evil people trying to do evil things, or some kind of crap like that. Now, frankly, it isn't all that bad, okay? It's a fair cop enough. Fair shots are taken most of the time. He makes a couple of statements implying that it's futile to talk to humanity. Okay, that there's no way this philosophy could take off. Like, there's no way you could explain to people that water's wet or something. I mean, obviously half the human population, at least half of it, is insane. Okay, they believe in phantoms flying around in the clouds. Absolute nonsense, fably silly stories. So to make the argument somehow they can't ever be educated and that humanity will never escape being, not stepping on cracks because they're worried about breaking their mother's back or something, I think is just a silly thing to say, frankly. And this is in the context where he never says anywhere in the documentary that the entire civilized world is crashing hard into this subject, in the sense that more than half now, you could argue, at least half the people in civilized countries don't procreate. I mean, so he's implying that this is fringe, when obviously a bunch of people draw the conclusion that procreation isn't a healthy or good thing at this time. Like, either the world is too screwed up, or it's too much of a responsibility, or it's too financially impractical, or it's just plainly unethical because I can't control the experiment. Why would I make bombs? I mean, that every now and then it's just a little Jack in the Box and he pops out and goes, ha 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 ha, happy, happy. And, there's a 30% chance he pops out and spits a bunch of COVID in your face or something. Anyway. So I'd say it was fair enough, and I'd say the people involved in it did very well. So it's all a plus in a lot of ways in terms of exposing the philosophy. I'd say it's just it's gotten more personal than it needs to. It's a philosophy. It's not a lifestyle. It's only accidentally a lifestyle. I mean, you could ask a lot of sad Democrats now, what they think of the future with the, Trumpocracy and all this kind of crap, and they're going to give you a really sad story about how their life is ruined because, they're just like, oh, fuck, what kind of crazy shit is this asshole going to do? I mean, how many billions is he going to give to the billionaires? How much grief and hardship will be endured, because we have an idiot as running the country. And of course, look, that's in the context of the other asshole was just as stupid. So yeah, it really wasn't a choice. So it's just the idea the human race is now in this circumstance where it can't even make intelligence. It can't ever put the right person to drive the bus. The person knows how to drive. The election for bus driver has something to do with whether you're wearing sneakers or, flats or, some kind of, complete irrelevancy. Anyway, so you could go into all that psychology. You're a loser philosophy. How's it feel? That kind of nonsense. Clearly, there's a lot of people who think we're on the road to ruin. You don't have to be an anti-natalist. You don't have to believe a lot of things to see. Well, it's the road to ruin. I mean, it's going to be all kinds of messes made. Quoting somebody. Yeah, who said that? Oh, yeah. What's an inmendham quote? So just as context, to be fair, I wasn't excluded, okay? I chose not to participate. And he was, in a sense, accommodating to a lot of any kind of conditions I would put on the interview and all that kind of stuff. But I just had no confidence that it was going to do what it needs to, what a documentary needs to do, which really isn't to talk about the fringe people. It needs to talk about how insane the normals are, okay? How sadistic and cruel and selfish and greedy and gluttonous the normals are, okay? That's the documentary that needs to be made, okay? Is that, the problem isn't the people who are concerned that you might waste some suffering. They're not the problem. The problem are the people who aren't concerned. All right, so that context being stated. So like I said, no offense to him. I think he did a fair enough job. I think I still have doubts about his actual intent. I'm sure his next documentary will be about some other freak show. Okay, because that seems to be the line of reasoning. He's not going to do a in-depth, complex documentary on the subject of democracy and how it's failing or something like that. It's going to be another freak show democracy. But anyway, I mean a documentary. It is a freak show democracy. So it does fit either way. Okay. So I figure I will play it and probably take a couple of videos and I'll put them on YouTube instead of the usual, just because it is a YouTube video. And yeah, and it's got a lot of anti-natalism in it. Now it has some Efilism, thankfully, but it's not nearly enough. Doesn't really get to the subject that, frankly, Efilism fixes the whole problem. So if you just make people Efilists, they're already built-in anti-natalists. So, and in the end, that's the philosophy you need. I mean, the human suffering is, all of the human suffering throughout whatever you want to call human history, 250,000 years of us being a little bit civilized. I could take all of that suffering, okay, the tears, and it's one drop in the ocean that nature has created. So, I mean, our little bit of experience of grief and hardship and torture is a tiny, just almost so infinitesimally small an amount of what nature has created over the last 300, 400 million years since it invented the first brain that said, ouch. And that's the subject, frankly. And, the subject is more pointed in the sense of, it'd be nice if to interview the douche, the interviewer, and ask the question, put it to him. If, let's say, 7 out of 10, let's say 1 in 7 lions die before they're a year old. And they die horribly, getting eaten, you know, and killed by hyenas and all kinds of crap like that, snakes, all kinds of terrible ways they get killed. And let's say you had to do the killing to preserve the one lion. So you get one lion out of your exercise of imposing the death, the slow, horrible starvation, all kinds of horrible deaths, you know, maggots eating them, all kinds of horrible, awful ways to die. And you had to impose it. You had to do it. It was your hands that created the blight and the misery. You gave them the disease, or you gave them the virus. Could you do it? Could you, yeah. So it's like the vegan argument of, you know, you cowards talking about how it's all okay. You're really telling me that you could raise a pig, look into his eyes every day, talk to him, you know, and then one day, because he's got dollar signs written on his side, you're going to hack his head off and rip him to pieces. And we're the freak show? Yeah, so the argument is, yeah, let's say the plague even, right? Let's say 20,000 people in England died of the plague, okay, over a 4-month period or something. Now, the plague lasted longer than that, but it wasn't, you know, as severe. The most severe point, something like that, let's just say. And you had to go do it to preserve this wonderful thing, England, okay? And you know, people doing all this stinking commerce shit running down the street. You can't even go near the Thames because it smells so bad. I mean, you know, life wasn't exactly wonderful before the plague showed up. And you had to go there and kill the little kids, give them the plague. You know, inject the kid with the plague, inject the people with the plague. And you're going to tell me you would feel completely justified. It was well worth it, because look how great everything is. I mean, the river stinks. The streets got poo in it. Oh, it's just all so frickin' charming. You know, amazing. And we're the freaks. No, you're the sadists. That's the real argument, okay? They're sadistic lunatics. Just like some of these religious kooks, rationalizing their jihads. You know, you're the sickos, okay? Somehow gleefully stomping on the skulls. You're the Terminator, you know? Not us. All right. So anyway, so there was none of that context in this, or anything that really got to even an image of a dying animal. So he could have gone, you know, he's traveling all over the country. Maybe he could have just stopped somewhere and found an animal dying on the side of the road or something and filmed a little bit of that, you know, just to give it a little bit of reality. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, it's all good. Okay, it's better than no. It's, you know, it's great to have more exposure for the conversation. I'd just say it was a little less aggressive than it needs to be, but so what? I say so. Doesn't mean anything. I would have liked it to be more aggressive. Okay, so what? That's my complaint. But it was, like I said, the participants, I think they all did well. So we'll play the video. And then I can answer some of the questions that he probably would have asked me. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? He might have asked me the special, really important question. And we all missed out on that because, you know, it didn't get asked because, you know, I wasn't there to answer it. Yeah, whatever. All right. So I think that's enough of context. Yeah, that'll do. All right. I have to check the settings, of course. All right. So, yeah, probably, yeah. Well, anyway, maybe next week I'll go back to whatever he is, neuroscientist, talking about how the brain works. So there's a couple more episodes of that on the website. But anyway, so this is probably going to take 3 or 4 videos to get through 47 minutes. Ooh. But anyway, so let's do it.
These are the neighbors. No kids, no kids, no kids, no kids, kids, no kids, adult kid that should have been aborted.
Yeah, so this is Doug Stanhope, something like that, a comedian, and they didn't play any of his comedy. I mean, okay, he was a little bit funny in the video, but he wasn't that funny. But anyway, well, anyway, we'll just play the video.
Yeah, pretty much no kids.
So that is the truth. And that's not in a documentary anywhere, that the whole world is, you know, like I said, the civilized world is way under replacement population. So, I mean, this is a real thing that's really happening. And that's why all of this importation is happening in all these countries, is because they have a bunch of unsustainable financial systems that are completely dependent on growth. And so if you're not growing, they can't finance their debt, and everything falls apart for them, for the financiers. Okay. The rest of us would do really well, though, frankly. Yes, you wouldn't be making a huge amount of money on the price of your house, but everything else would get, you know, so you could have 3 houses, frankly, because there wouldn't be this demand, you know, suffocating you out of the market.
I had fallen deep down a rabbit hole, researching the philosophy of antinatalism.
So again, this whole, like, it's some kind of Alice in Wonderland thing, you know, like somehow this is the unrealistic way to understand your existence, as being robots created by evolution that kills children to advance some eugenics philosophy, mechanism anyway, you know, to do this genetic engineering. And so if you were to propose it as a thing, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to kill a bunch of creations to, you know, increase their genetic strength and capacity to, you know, lift 10 pounds or some silly other thing, obviously they would put you in jail. You know, they should at least put you on the watch list, okay, as a psycho. And, you know, again, that's the truth of it, okay? To be pro-life or pro-nature is to be pro-child rape and slaughter, because that's what it does to most children. Fact. Most of them just get raped and killed. I mean, raped in the all kinds of ways that you get, you know, deprived and have your sensibilities brutalized. Let's just say sensibility brutalization.
Belief that having children is morally wrong.
Okay, so again, the moral word. No, it's logically incomprehensible, frankly, as sensible. Okay, as reasonable, as something you logically deduce as something I should do. There's no reasoning and logic to it. It's an insane risk for a kind of ambiguous reward of what? What are you going to do with this kid exactly? What is your joy in life? Watching him fail and fall down and break his face, or some other kind of crap happen to him, and you're just going to, oh, wow. Oh, God, that was so cool. The kid was running down the sidewalk and fell right on his face. Yeah, it was so funny. So is this some sort of, like, you just want to watch the fail video of your own children and you're going to get off on this? You're going to get off on their little broken hearts when their first girlfriend says your penis is too small, or some other kind of crap? You're going to get off on that? Have a good laugh? Oh, yeah. Fuck. So he's making us into the dark rabbit hole philosophy, when no, the rest of the world is the one with the fucking deluded, insane, talking deck of card philosophy. They're the ones who believe in the sky daddies and the spiritualism and we're going to go through the wormhole and you have intercourse with the other aliens and whatever the fuck they're thinking, whatever bizarre delusions they have.
When you bring somebody into the world,
I mean, what are they going to do? We're going to calculate the biggest number ever. It's going to be like this humongous number we're going to calculate someday. It'll be so cool when we calculate the big giant number. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to just create virtual dildos, frankly. You're just going to create virtual, fake, synthetic mechanisms to shove up your butthole and go, oh, that's all. There's nothing else to do. You go to Mars. What are you going to do on Mars? Watch porn on a 4-inch screen. I mean, just too fucking ridiculous to make this the bizarre philosophy. I mean, how could you possibly draw the conclusion that there's something wrong with sentient feeling organisms eating each other alive? How could you possibly see anything wrong with that?
You are gambling with their life.
You're putting all that risk on them of cancer, dementia, you know, all the horrible things we see.
That's actually wrong.
I mean, yes, there's only a tiny percentage that get lucky and die without even knowing they died, right? I mean, they just quickly killed in a plane crash, or they have a heart attack and some other kind of bullshit, and they're done, all right? But no, we know most people, it's not going to be anything like that. It's going to be, the average is 7 months, I think, to die. You're going to spend 7 fucking months, you know, in profoundly uncomfortable conditions.
You have a big grin on your face.
Well, I mean, it's just so fundamentally true, and I think a lot of people don't understand that.
There's no reason for you to reproduce.
Yes. Shine. It's really good. You know, I don't know really if I'm a street, you know, if I'm a big defender of getting in people's faces. I'd rather they voluntarily seep into a conversation than imposing. See, I'm just so I'm so anti-imposition in any other sense than making laws against rape. And yes, we should pass a law against perverse exploitation of children, and that's what having children is. It's a perverse exploitation. You're somehow getting something for it. It's you're just you're a pimp. You know, you're pimping your kids. That somehow you're going to do something. You're going to elevate your condition somehow by exposing them to risk, just as he's stating.
I'm not convinced by it.
I'm not convinced by it, no, and I don't think any sort of convincing is ever going to undo the biological imperative.
So again, there's no biological imperative. It's just a ridiculous statement, especially for men. There's no biological imperative. There's not even a notice of it, okay? No organism, no monkey, no lion, no dog, no anything is having sex thinking, I'm making babies, I'm making babies. I'm going to have some kids that I can watch fail and suffer. They're not thinking that. All right? They're just doing the, you know, polishing the hardware. And, you know, it's just so ridiculous, this biological imperative that really can't be described as anything but some sort of cultural imperative. All right? You've been taught to bow at the Christmas tree. You've been taught to have this reaction that somehow my life doesn't mean anything if I haven't got a bunch of children on a leash. I mean, look how people, they have their status dogs, you know, and it's just all just bullshit. They're not, you know, again, it's just an exploitation of a biological organism to satisfy some need you have. You're not trying to satisfy its needs or create the absence of its deprivation.
To have children.
And yet, this fringe belief continues.
So again, this fringe belief that's taken over the civilized world. So the entire civilized world, so whatever, 25%, let's say, of the world, is draconianly this philosophy. I mean, the numbers are really tiny if you really take out all the importations and all the other bullshit that are happening in a lot of countries. The domestic, comfortable population, okay, the more comfortable they are, the more educated they are, the more intelligent they are, the less they procreate. Those are the statistical facts. Why don't you go find out that fact, Mr. Documentary Guy? Why don't you see if you can find the actual statistical fact about how there's this huge relationship between how you score on a test, doesn't have to be an IQ test, and how many kids you have. Because there is a huge correlation. I think you know it. And so your statement is just kind of bullshit, because the best of the human race, frankly, okay, the part of the human race that's probably the most intellectually productive, let's say, that part of the human race recognizes the sin of procreation, the sin of recklessness, the sin of inefficiency, the sin of waste. And that's all you people are defending, is a waste engine. Let's waste a bunch of torture. The one thing in the universe you should never waste. And that's what you're defending. I'll call you a douchebag because, yes, you're defending something really fucking stupid and implying that there's, you know, that you have to be some kind of perverse thinker to recognize the simple truth that it's one hell of a thing to create a living organism that is going to have to navigate a maze full of quicksand and, you know, swords.
To attract new followers.
A 27-year-old man in India is suing his...
So this is sort of unfortunate because, look, that lawsuit never happened, and it really should have happened, frankly. It shouldn't have even been talked about if the guy didn't even file the lawsuit. So that was a little bit of fake news, frankly, and a little bit irritating, and it really should be a real lawsuit somewhere. You know, I probably should have filed it while my parents were still alive, but anyway... because it's a real subject in the sense that let's force this society to say, you know, we think it's okay for you to commit this crime of exposing something to jeopardy and harm. That it's okay for you to actually give somebody a gift, okay, that is dysfunctional and might blow them up, or blow their arm off, or blow their eye out, or, you know, poison them. There's a clear toxicness to this, okay, like the antivirus people. This is so much clearer, okay, that this carries a gigantic risk. It isn't a little risk, it's a gigantic risk. And you're just saying as a civilization that we're going to endorse it because most of us are guilty of it. So because it's a crime most of us commit, we're going to defend it. And that's bullshit. And let's understand, the most is that same idiocracy that won't elect an intelligent president.
Parents for giving birth to him without his consent.
Bit of a revelation, really, to actually find that there are people that think along the same lines.
Taken to its logical conclusion.
So, you know, again, the truth is that you couldn't say it because it is so hostile to the religious kooks and the cultural norms. You're not almost allowed to say it, just as you're not allowed to talk about abortion, or you're not allowed, you know, to defend it. You're not allowed to make these statements without offending these lunatics who are invested in maintaining this farce of a civilization that sits there and kowtows to ignorant, silly superstitions and nonsense fables. So, you know, and that's the truth of it. It takes guts, okay, to expose yourself to the fake slings and arrows. I mean, all the grap they're going to throw at you for defending something that's perfectly reasonable, but because it offends, it's overtly in conflict with their silly silver lining, fluffy bullshit philosophy that, well, all the farm animals go to loving, friendly heaven or something. I mean, some sort of nonsense. They don't feel anything because, well, they're animals. And doesn't that prove it? Isn't that all I have to say? They're animals, therefore they can't feel? There, have I done logic? Am I intelligent? No, you're ignorant. You're ignorant. Ignorant. Ignorant.
The implications of antinatalism are hard to stomach.
The implications of antinatalism are hard to stomach. Again, what isn't hard to stomach about everything going on in the world? I mean, all of it. You know, I mean, there's little things you could watch and just say, oh, yeah. It's hard to stomach watching a video where a little Chinese kid gets run over in the street and nobody even notices. It's a little hard to stomach. So yeah, there's a lot of shit that's hard to stomach. Go visit a nursing home. It's really hard on your stomach.
The name, voluntary human extinction, pretty much sums it up.
Extinction is a word.
So this, okay, is another, you know, where, yes, this is where, this guy isn't my ally, he's my enemy. So this is like, you know, making an ally out of the, this is like Osama bin Laden being on our side against the Russians kind of thing. This is something you can just see as, this is toxic. Okay, this guy being on your boat. So as much as he's a nice guy and all this other stuff, this Let's Unite, I mean, his philosophy is 100% opposite. He might as well be a religious kook. This reverence for goddamn fucking nature is just insane. I mean, what the fuck? I mean, the slaughter and the murder and the horrible death that it creates in these gratuitous amounts. I mean, octopuses are born fully functional. I mean, they're, you know, they have to catch their food, they have to do all the stuff a regular octopus does. And they have 10,000 of them. 10,000 and 9,990 whatever, 8 of them have to be killed through attrition. The same with little sea turtles. The attrition numbers are insane. Why the fuck would I say, yeah, let's leave that system intact? A bunch of little sentient brains being brutally killed. Why not? Yeah, let's do it. Let's do even more of it than human beings do. Human beings do so much less of it compared to. I mean, it's just, I mean, fuck. This isn't the same philosophy. But the good news is it's a clip of Elon Musk just being an arrogant douche, so that's excellent.
He uses. So I want everyone to die, otherwise you just carry on and on and on and on forever.
Yeah, exactly. So what is this? You can't deal with you can't make a rational counter argument to the argument you're a piece of sadistic suck, that your whole philosophy is sadistic, sick nonsense. If you had to actually live it, that is, you had to go inject those lion cubs with some kind of terrible, awful, slow death, you're a coward because you know you can't do it. You know you wouldn't do it. All right, you wouldn't do it. The fact is you couldn't spend your life imposing the suffering that is the price for this silly nonsense that you think we must have. We must have this silly civilization. We must wear pink and white striped shirts. We must preserve all of this stuff, all this wonderful plastic. Yes, it's all shiny and bendy. Yeah, we have to have that in the universe or fuck. So yeah, go ahead, torture trillions of organisms because we need plastic. The universe needs plastic. That's all you're saying, you crazy fucks.
And I'm like, well, buddy, you can start with yourself.
Yeah, so that's the answer. And of course, I would love for it to start because he gets the plague. I mean, I'd love for him to be the first victim. I'd love him to die the death of the first child that dies before it's 5 years old. I would love for him to die of whatever that kid's going to die of. You first, fucker. You think it's a great idea? You die of it first, fucker. You live in some fucking shitty country with, you know, people make 25 cents a day growing up in that world. You do it first, fucker, and then tell us all about how great it is. What is this, these scummy, obnoxious, privileged fucks?
I've set out to understand what draws people to antinatalism.
The end of suffering forever? That's a really tough thing to say no to.
Very good. Yeah, excellent. That's the mistake, okay? The thing is called I Wish You Were Never Born, and what the real title should be is I Wish Suffering Was Never Invented, because it's really, really nasty, and it creates a red blood currency that is impossible to clean up. There's no good sponge that can soak up all of that fucking red suffering ink.
What kind of toll does it take on their lives?
I think
so. That's sort of the blah 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 blah. Who fucking cares? I mean, everybody is told by everything. That, I mean, you don't think the guy working in some factory where he's being exposed to freaking who knows what kind of vapors and gases and other kinds of crap that will probably kill him 10 years earlier. All kinds of people have all kinds of burdens they have to live through. All kinds of stuff that happens to them. I could even argue, you know, I have chronic problems with my back, because I had a job when I was a kid that was, you know, hauling newspapers, and I had to carry them like a mule. And then I had restaurant jobs when I was carrying more shit on top of my head and whatnot. And so, yeah, my back got ruined. And so I didn't have my golf career because of it. I didn't have a whole different things that would have happened in my life were completely changed by this stupid shit. So every single thing you do fucks you up. Can fuck you up, can end in disaster. Something you think that's perfectly reasonable. Oh, I'll get a job, and, you know, no, bad idea, because it might kill you, it might ruin you.
A lot of people would assume that antinatalists would resent their parents.
Yeah, they wronged me by bringing me here.
And how does it relate?
And the wrong is just this ignorance thing. I mean, frankly, I got my parents to admit, yeah, it was a bad idea. We could have done world traveling stuff. They like going places and fishing and doing shit. They love that kind of crap. And they could have done so much more of it if they didn't have 4 kids to haul around. So that's the big joke. And they finally admitted it. They never thought about it. They never really gave it much thought. They just did what, you know, people do. They just get married, and then all of a sudden you start having kids and, you know, playing this domestic life. But neither one of them are really prepared for the job. I mean, they did the best they could. They were honorable people and did honest things and tried to do the, you know, there was never anything I would call maliciously harmful ever committed by them. There was no act of volition. There was just, you know, there was just acts of omission. Because they didn't know how to play with somebody's psychology. They didn't know what was going to warp a kid's mind. They didn't know anything about how to be a parent and how do you deal with these things. Do you let the kid ruin himself? Do you let the kid, you know, he's a little too affectionate and he's a little too, so let's, you know, push him away so he doesn't become a homosexual and instead he becomes a completely dysfunctional introvert. I mean, all these things. I mean, this is the bullshit. And so, you know, what a pile of crap that, you know, this idea that somehow you being a believer in some cause or recognizing the necessity of some urgent need to, like even global warming or something, and recognizing that this is just spelling disaster and, you know, we're not doing anything to prepare for the absolute fact of it. Yeah, it just fucks with your life. Yeah, your brain recognizes danger, and that will fuck with your life, okay? The recognition that maybe the Nazis are coming for me next, maybe I'm on the list and I'm going to be thrown in a cell somewhere. Those things should worry you. They should cause you grief.
To wider issues.
Full reproductive freedom doesn't exist anywhere.
No, that guy was quite good. No, not him. That's Let's Unite. The other guy. This guy. Is it this guy? Well, anyway, the guy with the guns. So I think that's this guy. I shouldn't even say the guy with the guns. But, yeah, I mean, look, people have hobbies. So this is a guy that moderates the, whatever they call it, website. And, but, yeah, really good. Very articulate. Very well stated position.
Is antinatalism simply a crisis of mental health?
So this is the bad part, okay? Showing guns and talking about mental health and, you know, okay, freak show. No, it's not a freak show, okay? It's a real philosophy. The fact is that the elements of it have seeped into the minds of intelligent people on Earth, and they're not procreating. So let's point out, the only people continuing to procreate above, you know, a growth population, increasing population, or maintaining population, the only people doing that are third world morons, religious kooks. That's who's doing it. There's not reasonable, smart people doing it. No, it's the dumbest, lowest, most animalistic people on this planet that are doing it. You should say that, to be fair. That should be in the documentary somewhere. Okay, is compare the two sides.
Suicide is very brave.
I'm so happy that my friends are free.
Or do they have a point?
Existence is the...
So he never got to this part of, do they have a point? Like, is there some counter argument to the fundamental facts they're facing, which is the fundamental fact that my life is really expensive and a bunch of things have to be tortured and killed for me to exist. The biosphere has to suffer an ocean, or at least a lake of tears, okay, for me to have the privilege of being one of these superior beings.
Problem, the solution is never existence.
Yes, exactly. The solution is don't make the problem, and the problem is suffering. And the fact is, if you want to play some growth of your intelligence game or something, you want to make some new version of biological robot, okay, that just spends all day calculating numbers or polishing plastic windows or whatever the fuck it is that gets you off, yeah, if it's not sentient, go ahead, knock yourself out, okay? But as soon as you make it into a feeling organism and then create all kinds of systems that are going to make sure it's going to feel really bad a lot, way too often, yeah, fuck you.
Do you wish I hadn't been born?
So yeah, this is like word game stuff, you know. I mean, obviously it would depend on what you're going to do in the world. So if you're going to explain to me how you're going to prevent people from recklessly having kids, and you're going to create systems that'll make sure people are who would have been harmed won't be harmed, then I'd say, no, of course I don't wish you weren't born. But if you're going to be a typical average jackass, sadistic, motherfucking selfish cunt, well then, yeah, of course I wish you weren't born. But I really don't know what your life is going to be yet. It looks like you're going to be an asshole. That looks like you're probably going to create more harm than you're going to prevent. So I couldn't say pretty honestly, right now, I probably think planet Earth and the universe would be better off without your scurvy existence. But I'm just going by the laws of averages.
Most people underestimate the amount of bad in their lives.
I think it would have been better.
I don't think they just ignore it. They pretend that somehow it's all getting erased in the great eraser cloud. That there's, you know, that somehow, oh, it's in the past, so it's gone. You know, so I'm going to win now, right? It's like they lost playing, you know, shooting craps, and now they think, well, I already got rid of my low losing percentages. You know, my losing stink, and now I'm going to have plenty of win stink. You know, now I'm going to be a winner. You know, because I already did the loser thing. You know, it's all irrational, superstitious, compulsive, addictive behavior, and that's all it is. It's just some heroin addict says, well, yeah, shit, that was really fucked up. Let's try again.
For the world and for you not to have been born.
Yes. We don't fix anything broken in the universe. Just an absolute fact. There's no way to say we fix something, that the universe is in some problem, that some part of the universe is in jail, and we will free it from the jail cell. We will free it from despair. We will free it from sadness. We will pull the thorn out of its paw. We're not doing anything like that. We're creating, you know, the very thing we're pretending we're somehow solving a problem, when no, we spilt 70 million gallons of milk, and then we cleaned up 3, and are sitting there with our little bucket of cleaned up milk going, look at us, we're heroes, we cleaned up 3 gallons of milk. That's the delusion. excessive pause, I'd say. But anyway, take a little break. Yeah, it should be back. Continuing. I haven't gotten very far yet, right? 2 minutes and 32 seconds. Oh, this is going to take forever.
There is no purpose. You're just trapped in a prison. Not my words. They belong to the Antinatalist Reddit group, which boasts over 200,000 members.
So that's the place the other guy moderates, which is good. But this whole Reddit thing, you know, this flinging insults back and forth, yeah, I don't know. Not that I don't fling some, but I just mean, look, the arguments are simple enough. Okay, I could just ask somebody, could you really? Okay, if it was really you have the job, doing it for nature, and so it's going to be your job to look into the little eyes of the little lion cubs and inject them with slow death. You have to do it. It doesn't happen unless you do it. Okay. And you're going to tell me that you want that life. You're so convinced that it's worth it to kill 6 out of 7 lion cubs. It's worth it. Is that your argument? You know, that you're going to be the one, you know, all these organisms that are, you know, all the kittens, you know, feral cats born, all the ones in the puppy farms, they're going to just die of neglect. You wouldn't mind being the assassin because it's such a wonderful purpose.
Scrolling through it is enough to drive you to drink. The only question is if the glass is...
I mean, exactly what is that? It's enough to drive you to drink because what? It's so tedious or nonsensical? Oh, it's just so silly that these people are concerned about suffering. I mean, I'm not concerned. Look, he doesn't have any pain. He's going a little bald. You know, but anyway, you know, there's nothing, you know, his life is just so charming and it's all so much fun that how could I have any complaints that there's a little bit of suffering in the world? Oh, some other people suffer, so what? A few kids get cancer, who cares? I'm worth it. Is that what you're saying? You're worth it? To save your life, you would inject a kid with cancer? If that's what it took to keep you alive, you would do it? I don't think you would.
It's half full or half empty.
All right, so again, and what is the half full? Wait. 67,964 orgasms. Okay, yeah, that's the half full part. What else is there? What's the rest of the story? The full part. How is the full part? Oh, I saw some Christmas lights, and I got such a little feeling with these little blinky lights, and it was so much fun. What? What is it? What are these magnificent moments in your fucking life that is worth it? You're sitting in a bar drinking, so you're proving my point, right? You can't really get on with your life without doing something to, you know, dull the pain, distract you from the thoughts. You know, give you some better agenda, you know, because life raw and real, oh shit, that's like gristle. So you've made my point right here. You need your technology and you need your booze, and you still don't look all that fucking like somebody in eternal bliss. So fuck you and this nonsense. You can't figure out what the subject is. The subject is exploitation of children for some delusion. There's a purpose to it. And, you know, I get to rub its hiney. I mean, what else is there? I'm sorry. I just can't even understand. What do you have kids for? What does a man have a kid for? What fucking possible use can it have but to make you embarrassed? Holy shit, look at that thing we made. Ooh. Let's call him Frankie. I just can't buy it. You know, if it doesn't have your nose or your penis, you know, it's gonna be like, whose fucking kid is that anyway? He ain't nothing like me. I mean, it's what a moron does that has some expectation that this making kid things is somehow making them whatever they are, when of course it's not going to make you. It's going to make somebody completely different than you, and that's how it always turns out, right? I mean, 99% of the time, the kids don't do what the parents did. They don't live how the parents lived. They almost are the antithesis of everything their parents were. Yeah, I mean, except in like Muslim countries or something.
No prizes for
where you're killed, you know, if you're something else.
Guessing which an antinatalist would choose.
Think about all of your poor unborn children who have no...
Yeah, take your drink, you know, take your pacifier, your brain killer, so you can get on with your droll and glib analyzing of the existence of life on Earth. And this is how much attention you'll pay to it, is this whatever, this synthetic, superficial expose.
Problems right now, but if you create them, they're going to have a whole lot of problems just created just by that one moment of...
Yeah, there's this giant risk, and whether it's 30% are going to be dismally dissatisfied, I mean, way below the quality of your existence. All right, that's the real standard here, is that they're, you know, so that's why intelligent people don't have kids, because they can see the probabilities in the real world. They can see how difficult it is to get into these privileged positions. They know how they had to get lucky. They had to know somebody. They had to do this. They had to do that. So they know that this game isn't that simple, and that there's a high probability that their kid isn't going to have a better life than theirs. That's going to have a worse life than theirs. The kid's not going to be as lucky as them. It's not going to have, you know, evaded all these things that they evaded. Their kid's going to get the plague. You know, they didn't go on vacation that week.
You know, a nice feeling and a rub-a-dub-dub.
Well, that's all it really is, right? So let's just, you know, quit bullshitting. But that's all that's in the half-full glass, okay, is these superficial, you know, viscerally natural evolutionary impulses that you're going to gratify. And so nature gives you a couple of things where it'll throw you a peanut. You know, it'll take the whip away for a day. And it's going to feel so good not to be whipped for a day. You know, to live in a delusion. I mean, I had this really happen in my life in the sense that, you know, when I finally did have sex, okay, and, you know, I was just sitting in it, wallowing in it. You know, her, candlelight, the whole thing is just quite magnificent, quite perfect. And it's like, you know, the sad realization that I can't stay here, that I'm going to be dragged back into the dungeon. You know, they're going to come for me and pull me back into that dirty, stinking cesspool dungeon. And I can't stay here. I can't stay in bliss. And that makes it even harder to go back. I mean, once you've been to that utopia, it just, you know, everything is just so damn ugly.
I was outside King's Cross Station in London, watching Danny Shine interact with the public.
This is what I'm saying, we're all deluded, and people like that are having children, can you imagine? Which is why I always carry some spare condoms to anybody who has half a chance this evening of making...
Yeah, of not doing something reckless and stupid. And that's what happens, right? So this guy's got a little smile on his face. Oh, isn't it funny? He's talking about reckless reproduction. And, oh, yeah, what a stupid thing to talk about. You know, people who are totally unqualified to raise a kid having kids. Yeah, well, that's not a subject. That's like talking about curing cancer or something. Why would we pay any attention to that? We're going to Mars. I mean, going to Mars is so much more important, isn't it? We're going to send people to Mars, like 5. Or, you know, 15 maybe. You know, in like 4 decades, you know, it'll get, you know, there'll be like 20 and 25 people on Mars. And that's going to be so cool because, like, there's going to be 25 people on Mars. It'll be just, fuck, it's amazing. 25 people on Mars. Yeah, oh no, it's only going to cost $70 trillion. I mean, what's that? That's nothing. How many people's, how many lives will be marginalized on $70 trillion? I mean, how many vacations could you buy somebody with $70 trillion? It's just, it's like everybody could take the year off from work with $70 trillion.
Some poor woman pregnant.
And on one of his breaks...
Some silly, reckless crack whore woman, right? You know, too drunk, some drunk woman. Yeah. Oh yeah, great idea.
I found myself on the receiving end of a diatribe.
There's no reason to do it. Think about why you do want to. Why?
Yeah, exactly. Ask him, why does he want to? So there's a key moment right there, right? Because I think what he did, he got this diatribe from Danny Shine because he said he wants to have kids. You know, he has some intent to do it. And Danny's going to ask the reasonable question, what the fuck? Is it, you know, don't give me this bullshit. Tell me the real reason. I mean, what the fuck are you up to? I mean, what do you want to do with these little things? Exactly. What do you think you're going to accomplish? You think they're going to win a gold medal for you? Or what? Or are you going to be one of those people who just sits there and, you know, watches them fail and videotapes it and puts it online? Fuck you. You got no reason that makes any sense. You got some kind of ego issue. You got some sort of problem. You got some sort of emotional problem. That's the only reason why you have kids. Or, like Danny Shine admits, you're not thinking. You're just fucking.
Why do you want to? What? You want to be like the master of somebody else's life? You want to tell them what to do? You want to guide them? You want them to look up to you? Do you want that?
Yeah, they want, I want them to, yeah, that's the one the women always use. I want them to unconditionally love me, even though I'm a fat slob and a pig and, yeah, I'm a crack whore and I'm all kinds of things, but I want them to look at me like I am charming and wonderful and I'm mommy. I'm just this great, wonderful thing that you can't help but love. Because you don't know any better. Oh, God damn it. It's just so bad, right? I don't want to earn your love. No, I want it to be controlled by the fact that I had you and I forced you to love me in terms of you weren't exposed to some other mommy. You didn't get to choose. You didn't get to go to the mommy store and pick the mommy you get to have. No, you forced yourself on the poor kid. Like some poor goose. You know, you hatch the goose's egg and it thinks you're the mother goose, and so it follows you around for the rest of its life. Because you've corrupted it. You've made it do that. All right. And that's all these people are looking for. They just want something to chase them for the rest of their life, saying, I need you, I want you, I need you, I not want you.
Well, fuck for? You got your own little fucking life to take care of and all your own bullshit and demons.
Exactly. And bullshit, demons. This is the truth right here. We're already a fuck up, a mess. There's nobody is in control of their life. No one. All right? There's no one living this idyllic, functional life. And you see it all over the place. People with money, all kinds of stuff, and they're involved in slave trades, or they're fucking, drugging their wife and selling her to, people who can't get laid. I mean, just amazing nonsense. And you're telling me these people need to reproduce. We need people to reproduce. Reproduce what? Psychology? And it's broken psychology, sick psychology, crazy psychology, stupid psychology, fucked up psychology, perverse psychology. No, we don't need any more of that.
Well, shit.
I mean, the whole world is turning into a psychopath in the sense they can't figure out what they want. They can't figure out what sex they are. They can't figure out what color their hair should be. They can't figure out anything.
That we've all got, yeah? So why would you do that? Why would you even want to?
Why do this crazy experiment that has all kinds of ways to go wrong? So, it's he's going to talk to the LifeSucks guy, with the coloring book. And, there's an image, I have you know, of the kid on the tightrope, you know, and it's, you know, like there's two parents with goofy smiley faces, you know, looking, you know, from the platform at the tightrope, and the little kid with the umbrella, you know, and there's fire and swords below, you know, no net, you know, and what sensible, reasonable being would say, oh yeah, I want to live that. I want to watch something always in jeopardy, that every single thing I say, every single thing I do could be a knife in its fucking head. I could destroy it in an instant with a phrase. One decision to go to do some stupid thing, okay, and I ruin the kid, I paralyze him, or some other kind of crap because I took him to pee-wee football or some other bullshit. Why the hell would somebody want to put themselves in that position? Where's, you know, obviously they haven't thought about any of it. They didn't think about a single one of these points I just made about all of that risk and all of the chance you're taking. And if they gave it just 15 seconds of thought, the door slams shut and you realize, oh fuck, I can't go there. Because yes, I can't make these decisions. There's no way I can make all these decisions and be assured that I'm making the right ones and that I'm not fucking it up. And the experiment isn't going to hurt me. It's going to hurt the kid.
You can parrot any old stupid shitty line, but if your child is asking you why did you have me when they're in crisis, you need to tell them the truth.
No good reason. Selfish nonsense. You know, again, some stupid thing where you wanted to take a Rockwellian picture of yourself with some little sort of half copy thingy of yourself with you or something. Who the fuck, like I said, who could even know what the fuck these people are thinking?
Why would you?
I was struggling to...
Again, these certain things just come to mind. You know, they're just, some of them are very superficial. But just the whole idea of the risk that the kid ends up, you know, like you have a certain, like say you're averagely attractive, okay? I'd say I'm averagely attractive. I'm not, you know, I'm like a B on every, you know, in every way. I'm a little better than average, but, you know, not much. And, you know, what, just, I can't even imagine the disappointment I'd have in the sense of feeling so bad and guilty and all of that crap if, you know, you give birth to this, you know, you create this kid and he's got to live in some lesser condition. He's got to do life this harder way, all right, from not having your advantages. In a way, like I said, I had every advantage, you know, in terms of healthy, I was generally healthy, generally all these things, you know, I had all these advantages and I couldn't turn it into, you know, a sensible existence. It doesn't, because I can't be part of this crazy system. I can't live this fake and phony life, and so I couldn't maintain an existence because it just, none of it made any sense. I couldn't be a crook. I couldn't be a shyster. I couldn't be a liar. I couldn't be all the things you needed to be to get anywhere. A risk taker even. But I had every opportunity, and I couldn't. Some of, you know, like I said, it was just because psychologically I was being destroyed by the realization that I can't live here. This planet is insane. You know, I need to go to some rational planet to live. And you know, that did a huge amount of psychological damage, I guess you could say. So I mean, in some ways, I didn't have choices. So I couldn't fail in the spectacular, be a normal jackass human way. All right. And it gave me the opportunity to do a lot of inspection, you know, personal introspection. And so, but yeah, in a way, I was set up to be capable of being an asshole. And, you know, I was rescued by little things. So this is another thing that, you know, I've talked about it before, but I could take like two different things that you know, memories as a kid where they were really important ones. One of them was a 3-legged dog, okay, running across the backyard, and, you know, I mean, the fact that the dog is feral and he only has, you know, he's missing a leg, is, you know, for a 5-year-old kid, this it didn't make sense. I couldn't make sense out of that. And then there was a man with missing a leg. And we just drove by and I saw a guy with no leg. And those were realizations of risk and unsolved dilemmas. This was almost paradoxical. Like, this can't be true, that all of these people are doing this and that's okay. Because it wasn't okay. It's not okay. It's not right. It's not sensible. It didn't fit at all. I couldn't make any sense of it. And that's when I became capable of understanding, yeah, this is a crazy house. This world I'm trying to fit into isn't any kind of place you want to fit into. You don't want to fit in here because this is the crazy house.
Figure out how much of this Danny really believes and how much is a provocative...
Oh, you know, this is, you know, that's almost offensive. Oh yeah, he's just doing it for the show, you know. He likes being sneered at and, you know, argued as if he's some sort of Nazi come to town or something. Some party pooper. Like, he's just shown up to be like a government regulator or something. He's just showed up to take all the fun out of it.
Of street theatre. So I arranged to meet up with Lawrence Anton,
I don't know how that has anything to do with Danny Shine, but whatever.
Antinatalist whose actions speak louder than words.
So I don't know what that exactly is either, but fine.
Can we talk about your scrotum?
So you know, getting a vasectomy is fine. I mean, if you don't think you can control your reproductive risk with other means, then fine. I'm all for vasectomies. But I mean, it's not exactly a philosophical statement, because there's so many reasons why people do it. It's because they don't like wearing condoms, and they don't like this, and they don't like that, and they don't intend to reproduce. So they say, fine, I'm willing to sacrifice. You know, there is some risk to it, let's just say. You know, that something, okay, will change about your sexuality. And that's always something I think it's reasonable to be a little bit careful about losing any element of that. Because, again, that's the half full glass. Without that, there's really nothing. So, you know, I can see why some people are apprehensive in saying, you know, I'm going to do something that's a physical change that theoretically can't be fixed without more invasive manipulations that could cause even more problems.
Yeah. I don't get asked that by a man every Tuesday evening.
You have had a vasectomy?
Yeah.
How old were you when you had it?
23, I think. The way I saw it was that if I did change my mind after having a vasectomy, I've only screwed over myself. But if I don't get a vasectomy and an accident happens, I've screwed over someone else.
So let's just understand, the accidents are, you know, they're a little bit on purpose, frankly. I think that, you know, you really can, you know, make it unlikely. But it's a real thing. I'm just saying that, you know, I just don't have much confidence, I guess, in the medical establishment where I would want to, that I could feel confident, you know, that they're not going to fuck up.
In terms of, like, creating them. And also, if I did have a vasectomy and lived to regret it, and I wanted to have a child, I could adopt, right? And that's not a bad thing.
So, yeah, if there was some pill or some other way you could just make sperm ineffective or break them in some way, I just wish there was some way where you don't actually have to go physically fucking with the plumbing.
I suppose what I'm curious is when you're going through a really euphoric moment in your life, something really joyous, do you ever doubt your convictions?
So this will be a decent answer in the sense that, what the fuck are you talking about? You mean I'm fucking somebody and I start thinking about my convictions? Huh? No, I'm thinking of squishy breast and thing. You know, I'm like kind of caught up in the moment. Why? What the fuck am I going to start doing philosophy? Are you kidding? Are you kidding? So I do find that a little bit funny, just because, you know, some women have tattoos and different things, and you're just, gee, that would be just such a distraction in some ways, where all of a sudden I have to, there's a spelling test or something. There's some sort of, you know, I have to figure out what the fuck is that? Yeah, I don't think it's a great idea.
Well, in the most euphoric times, I'm probably not thinking about antinatalism because I'm like so in the moment with whatever's going on. But if someone was to like drag me out of it for a split second and say...
So the thing to define are what these euphoric moments are. So let's just say what the fun moments are. And yes, the fun moments might be, you know... I mean, it's hard to imagine any that don't have something to do with arousal. Okay, as a man, that's, you know... And so you're saying, well, what are the fun things that don't involve that? And you could say, okay, some of the competition things. So you can have some activity like whatever it is, playing soccer, or for me, golf, or some other thing where you're doing this little challenge with yourself. And those can feel kind of euphoric, you know, when you have those moments when it's just perfect, you know, hole-in-one kind of things. And, but yeah, it's this big a thing, you know, it's, you know, it'll make your day, okay, but it's not going to make your life.
Think about the moment you're in now. It's amazing to have those euphoric moments, but if I was never born, I wouldn't exist to...
Yeah, well, there's not somebody in some prison somewhere going, oh, I'm missing all my euphoric moments. Oh, how disappointing, how sad. Oh, pain, pain, pain. No, there's no way to miss, okay, to be deprived of something you don't need. And when you're not here, you can't need anything, so obviously you can't project value onto it and say it has meaning or value, because you have to project the value based on what you feel. So if you're not in some hell lamenting your absence, there's no rational way to make it a negative thing. It can't possibly be a negative. And all you can say is, well, it's not a positive. Well, not being positive does not make something a negative. Duh.
Be deprived of them.
We walked up Primrose Hill to gaze out over the city beneath us. And I couldn't help but ask if Lawrence was really okay with all those millions of people eventually disappearing if antinatalists were to get their way.
Okay, and so if we did the same thing and I said, well, it's 10,000 years from now, and there's a giant meteor that's going to, you know, create a giant tidal wave, a tsunami, and it's going to kill half the people pretty quickly, but the other half are going to die of cholera and all kinds of diseases because all the infrastructure will be bleeding all over the place. And, you know, slow, miserable starvation, all kinds of miserable death. There, it's your fault. It was your idea that they exist, so good for you. You sadistically, for some purpose only you can define, tortured people for nothing.
I do understand the sentimentality of why people find that sad, but once it's happened, there will be no one around to be sad about it, you know? And I don't think sentiment...
I mean, just this whole idea, like any of us need to exist, or any people, like we need French people, you know, that any of it's critical or important, and any part of it could have been extracted, you know, through history. We've annihilated lots of different civilizations, got annihilated. We're not sitting here, you know, oh, there's no Alexandrians, or there's no, you know, the Egyptians, you know. I mean, real Egyptians. I mean, you know, Pharaoh-type Egyptians. And there's some cases where it's actually a genetic, you know, entirely, not just a cultural annihilation, but an entire genetic code maybe has been annihilated, Easter Island or something. So, you know, nobody, there's no big, oh, crying all these tears. And just like there's no crying for the absent Martians. You know, we didn't annihilate them, we didn't choose to kill them, you know, we didn't do any of that. But the fact is, they don't exist. And the fact is, nobody's lamenting it. Nobody's going, oh, it's just so awful that we don't have the triangular TVs that the Martians would have invented. Yeah, no, it's not a tragedy.
Mentality is a good enough reason to impose suffering and death on millions and millions of people in New Jersey.
So again, in millions and billions and trillions and zillions of animal organisms with perfectly functioning sentient brains that will go through all kinds of painful, horrible, torturous trauma. And really bad. I mean, eaten alive kind of horrible. I mean, the stuff, you know, you don't even want to go there in your brain about all this stuff that happens to these organisms. You know, some little defect, you have some little, you know, wildebeest, there's this fly that lays eggs in their nostril, and then the maggots start eating their brain, and they die really slowly, and they end up losing their capacity to walk in a straight line. They end up walking in a circle. And so they become obviously easy kill. And it's not because, you know, lions don't show up and kill them. You know, a bunch of dogs will show up and kill them. You know, so they really get eaten alive. You know, and you're worth it? You really think you're worth it?
Generations.
It seemed as though every answer begged another question.
No, whatever, that's kind of a cliche statement. I mean, you can say that about every single subject. Is always deep. You can go as deep as you are willing to go. And obviously this subject of what it is to be sentient, feeling, thinking organisms on planet Earth in 2024 is obviously a pretty deep subject.
Which was how I found myself traveling across the pond for 2 weeks of intense filming with antinatalists in the US.
So I would have been on the list, so you would have taken a trip to New Jersey. Yay. Okay, but that didn't happen. Alright, so I guess we'll call this a video. So we're 6 minutes. Alright, so, oh yeah, this will definitely be 5 or 6 videos at this rate. But maybe I can speed up a little bit. We'll see. But there's no harm. You know, you don't want to watch the don't watch the videos. I don't know. I'm not. It's not required viewing. And you have plenty of time to do it. You know, you can wait a year, you know, a few months. Get around to it someday. Whatever. Doesn't, you know, it doesn't. I'm here to produce content, you know, not to. And yes, it'd probably be better to have nice little concise balls of fire to throw at people. But again, the subject is deep, and it probably it's hardly talking too much to say, oh, it might take you 10 hours to cover the book of life. You know, the book of life, to get a real feel and understanding of the story of sentient brains on planet Earth. That maybe that would take 10 hours. Maybe that would take a few years. But anyway, to do it honestly and fairly and reasonably completely. But anyway, yeah, I still got to throw the fireballs, but you know, whatever. It currently isn't my style, but I'll work on it. So, till the next time and such and so forth and whatnot. So, part 1, I'll label them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, that kind of thing and such. So, yeah, we'll call that a video.